Hello and welcome to the Spotlight. I'm David Rose. Since the start of the year, we slogged through a dreary and soggy winter and spring in western Washington, waiting for clear summer skies. Now that they're here, it's raining lead. Bullets are flying, bodies are dropping from Everett to Tacoma, and all points in between. So far, it's been a summer of violence. Take this most recent case in Snohomish County, for example. This is Tuesday. A guy caught on camera hiding on the backside of a building. As soon as the car comes around the corner, that guy opens fire. Well, the car takes off as fast as it can. This was all a setup. It appears to just be bad on bad because no police report has been filed by the victim that we can find. This was the scene on Sunday, July 10th in Seattle. Hundreds of people packed into Washington Hall for a concert when a volley of shots ring out. Panic ensued. Luckily, no one inside got hit. Police saying more than 50 rounds were fired in a rolling gun battle on the street outside, the latest in a summer of violence gripping the Northwest. Go, 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 go. A 14-year-old, Ayanna Ussery, wasn't as lucky when a pair of 17-year-olds in ski masks opened fire on the car she was in Tacoma. She was collateral damage in a fight between rival groups in the Crip gang. A senseless shootout at 11:30 in the morning outside the Ezel's Chicken in Tacoma's Hilltop neighborhood. Investigators say Ayanna was in her mom's Dodge Charger with two girls and at least two boys to get snacks at the Speedy Mart at the corner of 19th and MLK in Tacoma.
With a smoker, I'm jigging up at the speed.
It's the same store seen here in a tribute video to Tana Money, a Seattle rapper murdered in a gangland slaying we reported on in a prior episode of The Spotlight. One of the boys with Ayanna recognized the suspects, and police say surveillance video shows that boy flashing gang signs at the shooters as he walked inside the store. He returned to the car minutes later, but as they were leaving the gas station, several rounds of bullets were fired, hitting Ayanna. Detectives say the shooters, Jeremiah Everett and Christopher Felizardo, who goes by Junie, donned ski masks, got their guns, and opened fire on the Dodge Charger, hitting Ayanna and busting out the windows of Ezel's, barely missing a diner's head.
Landed right above where a diner was sitting. There was an AMR ambulance that was in a parking lot. I believe there were two employees sitting in there having lunch. So in addition to the shots that were fired directly at the van, there were numerous other people that were put at risk.
Detectives say the shooters were from the rolling 60s Crips, while the teen who flashed gang signs at them is with the Hilltop Crips. But they stress that Ayanna and the other people in the car are not gang affiliated. Tacoma police arrested Felizardo. Everett surrendered. The suspects appeared in court virtually with their attorneys. The judge didn't allow our cameras to film them, but he did set a stiff bail.
All right, I will set bail in the amount of $1 million.
Despite the shooters being behind bars, the guns they used are still on the street, a concern for detectives and prosecutors as the violence ratchets up in Tacoma. Sources telling the Spotlight a gang war is underway between multiple Crip sets or factions over territory surrounding the Tacoma Mall.
Crips fight Crips, Bloods fight Bloods, even down in LA. They have for decades. And what happens a lot of times is then you'll have an upstart set that will break off. Often they're rejected from joining one particular set. They'll start their own gang. And then now they're in a position where they got to save face. They're actually going to put in work, commit crimes against the gang that disrespected them.
Right now, Tacoma has several active Crip sets. They're dominated by young men aged 13 to 21 looking to make a name for themselves.
Here in Tacoma, we have specific sets that are here active local. We have Rolling 60s Crips that are actually an LA-based gang. We have Hilltop Crips that are a homegrown gang. And then we have Knockout Crips, which are a newer Crip set. And we have the 10-8s, which are a spin-off, younger faction of the Lakewood Hustler Crips. Those are just 4 out of many that are active in the area. And all of these different gangs are fighting amongst each other, and they all happen to be Crips.
Their futures don't have to end in prison or in the grave. A.J. Janaville spoke with a pair of OGs who left the gang life behind and are trying to instill some words of wisdom for the next generation, if they'll only listen.
Decades ago, Tacoma streets were infested by gang violence. Jermaine Gore and Furman Sowell tell me they were a part of the problem.
I went to my first funeral when I was 12.
I spent more time in prison than I have on the streets.
For years, this was their lives, but they got out. Now they want to help people walk a different path than they did.
A lot of those mistakes we made is what's occurring right now.
Gore tells me the violence we are seeing in Tacoma right now is different from when he and Sowell grew up.
This wasn't a gang shooting. It was some immature kids trying to imitate what they thought the gangs were supposed to do. But they wasn't gang members.
Sowell and Gore say these kids need outlets, they need options, they need resources, and they need role models.
I was one of those cats that, led a lot of young cats down the wrong path, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm here today, to rectify that, man, and clean that up, because that's what we need to do, stand up and be accounted for.
I challenged the city and the city leaders and the mayor and everybody else that said they wanted to stop. Let's put some money together, let's open up some buildings, let's start doing something for the youth so they'll have something to do.
Soaring crime and murder rates are nothing new for Tacoma Police Chief Avery Moore. He saw the same thing as Assistant Chief in Dallas, where the department used a data-driven approach to buck the national spike in crime last year. Now, Chief Moore is hoping that same approach will work here. It's a mix of science and boots on the ground.
What's interesting about Tacoma to us as criminologists is one of the interesting things is that your violent crime tends to be concentrated at commercial establishments, at businesses, shopping centers, shopping malls, convenience stores, other commercial establishments.
The man speaking is Mike Smith, a criminologist from the University of Texas at San Antonio. He's part of the team that helped Dallas police usher in a statistical approach to crime fighting in 2020. Back then, Avery Moore was the assistant chief. The Dallas plan broke the city down into microgrids, 300 by 300 foot boxes on a map. The entire city broken down to 104,000 boxes. What they found was that 50 of those grids were responsible for 10% of Dallas's crime, nearly identical to what they found in Tacoma.
If you think about all of the thousands of addresses in the city of Tacoma, you've got 24 that account, just those 24 that account for 12%.
Chief Moore says officers will use that intel to conduct enhanced patrols in the problem areas. Officers are parking their vehicles and flashing their lights for 15 minutes during peak times of day when crimes are committed, information that's being generated by criminologists. The chief hopes police being visible will cut down on crime. If it doesn't, handcuffs will follow.
We're going to weed out the people who need to be weeded out, i.e. you're going to go to jail. This plan is about high visibility, but there's another part of the plan that's not in the plan per se. And that's where we're going to arrest the people that need to be arrested.
Tacoma police declined requests from the Spotlight to name the 24 addresses where 12% of the crime occurs. But it looks like Hosmer Street made the list, something that shouldn't come as a surprise. The family of Estina Mashur says they've noticed an increased police presence in their neighborhood on South Hosmer Street, the same street where Estina was shot and killed in a parking lot back in April.
Finding her killer and having whoever it was arrested and us getting justice is not going to bring her back, like you said, but it is going to give us some type of peace knowing that the person that murdered our sister is no longer on the streets. My niece and nephew don't have to worry about wondering, oh, who was it that killed my mom?
Hosmer Street and its motels have become a hotbed for every conceivable form of illegality and mischief.
Every city has places that if you talk to community members or you talk to the cops, they can all tell you, yeah, it's, this is the spot, this is the neighborhood, or this is the street corner, this is the business. That sometimes these have been problematic for years at a time. It's unrealistic to think that 90-day treatment is going to fix that problem.
Estina's family says they worry that her case hasn't received the attention it deserves because of the location.
It's just more and more, stress that's getting put on me and my sister, and we're literally the only ones left.
Now that hotspot patrols are happening in the area, it could help investigators track down who killed the mother of two.
We want people to come forward and we want to hear our sister's name. We don't want her case to go cold.
Tacoma's mayor, Victoria Woodards, is calling on the community to step up and meet the effort from police. But in order for the crime reduction plan to be effective, Mayor Woodard says the community is going to have to speak up.
If you're not reporting, that makes it difficult for us to have the right data. And I understand community's frustration, but in order for us to, as you've heard, really identify hotspots, we've got 16, we may have 16 more, but if we don't know that crime is happening, if you don't If you don't want to call 911, at least get down, call the non-emergency number, fill out a report to make sure that we have all of this data, because this is not data that we can collect on our own.
Tacoma PD has 47 open positions. Chief Moore says this plan is designed to work with the force he currently has. City council members questioned if the hotspots could lead to profiling from over-policing, stop and frisk, racial stereotype, or discretionary practices of officers.
This plan doesn't allow for that. All I'm asking for is high visibility. You sitting in a squad car for 15 minutes of those optimal times in optimal days, which we have down to the block number. That's it. So you don't have to engage with anyone.
But hotspot patrols are only one piece of the solution in reducing crime. Criminologists say partnering with city and community agencies to provide services in counseling, job training, education, housing, job placement, substance abuse, and rehabilitation will be key.
Often these places that have historically had a long-term trend of challenges have deep ingrained reasons for that, including social and physical disorder.
Chief Moore says the criminologists will reevaluate the plan every 90 days, but they say in order for it to be effective, it's crucial that city government commit resources, mobilize city services, and a willingness to evaluate and change legal and social practices. Dallas saw a big uptick in crime during 2020 and was on pace to surpass those numbers in May of 2021 when it adopted the data-driven plan.
We're glad to be able to say here in the city of Dallas, things are going in the opposite direction.
At the end of 2021, murders in Dallas had dropped 13% and arrests were down 11% compared to 2020. The city had 500 fewer robberies, something Dallas City Mayor Eric Johnson directly attributes to the plan put in place by Dallas PD and University of Texas criminologists. The city of Dallas used federal money to pay for violence interrupters, civilians trained in conflict de-escalation that spend time in hotspots trying to squash beefs before guns get drawn. Tacoma's plan calls for those programs to be rolled out within 6 to 12 months when funding can be secured. The Spotlight will continue following Tacoma's police plan to track how it evolves in the coming months. Buckle up, an armed and dangerous suspect flips his van after trying to kill a sheriff's sergeant. The Spotlight shows you the tense moments as a SWAT team closes in. Think you can avoid the summer of violence by cruising country roads? Wrong. Trouble is around every corner, like the case of this amped up part-time rapper who makes the wrong turn in life and ends up naked and afraid. Juan Jose Carbajal is an aspiring musician from Tacoma who goes by the stage name Sacred G. His Facebook page boasts of performances at Austin's South by Southwest Festival, Seattle, and Portland. But thanks to a series of horrendously bad decisions, the next time you hear him on the mic will be in court. Pierce County Sheriff's deputies say Carbajal was speeding in a white van in Graham on the 4th of July. A sergeant tried to pull it over. At first, it looked like the 28-year-old was complying, pulling into a gravel parking lot next to a day school. But instead of getting out of the van, investigators say he opened fire at the sergeant, shooting multiple times through his own window. A decision that baffles deputies because Carbajal didn't have any warrants and owned the white van he was driving.
We have no idea why he chose to shoot at our sergeant, because honestly, with the way the laws were, had he continued on, it was a speeding violation and he gets to go.
The sergeant whipped a U-turn and started chasing the van through the streets of Graham.
Just had a vehicle shooting me. It's a white van.
He changes it from a minor traffic stop to now somebody who we're not going to stop chasing because he's trying to kill one of us.
Carbajal continued driving like a bat out of hell, hitting triple digits on the speedometer and firing out of his window. At one point, busting out the window of a woman who pulled to the side of the road to let him pass. The sergeant stopped giving chase, hoping Carbajal would slow it down and stop putting lives at risk. Instead, gravity did that. Carbajal lost control and drove off a cliff, tumbling and smashing until the van came to a rest on its roof 50 yards down the ravine. A homeowner called in the crash. Deputies tried to get eyes on the scene with a drone, but couldn't see the van through the trees, so a SWAT team rappelled down to it. Carbajal was gone. Inside the van, though, was a ghost gun, 70 rounds of 9mm ammo, and an empty clip for a Glock 19. Since Carbajal was driving his own van, it was easy to figure out where he lived.
This is the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. You are under arrest. Step out of the fifth wheel. Keep your hands up.
This young genius was right at home, recuperating the next morning when deputies showed up with a canine. Faced with adding a dog bite to his dozens of cuts and bruises, Carbajal, who was naked at the time, gave himself up, telling deputies, quote, "When you drive off a cliff, sometimes things happen." Deputies say they can't confirm what set Carbajal off. But when the spotlight dug into his socials, we found songs he produced titled "All the Dope," "So High," and "Undiluted."
Like always, and when them checks clear, we all paid. And for a test, I got the raid plus a 12 gauge.
Now this SoundCloud MC is cooling his heels in the Pierce County Jail, charged with attempted murder and assault in the first degree. He's currently awaiting a competency hearing. Still ahead, caught on video, a man running for his life after he's shot in the back. Another horrific unsolved murder in this summer of violence. Surveillance video shows 29-year-old David Ernesto Miranda Urbina racing out from behind a business before he collapses on Auburn Way South. It was about 1:30 a.m. on June 30th. He gets up and tries to make it to the other side of the street before he falls to the road again. It looks like he's almost about to get hit as multiple vehicles drive past him without stopping. That might seem callous or indifferent, but those drivers did the right thing. It's always best to call 911 immediately rather than stopping yourself to try to help someone in the middle of traffic. That's what drivers did. An officer was on scene quickly, but could not save Urbina, who died from gunshot wounds.
What we need help with is we do not have a suspect at this time, and we are working hard to figure out who might have been responsible for this shooting.
Detectives have been trying to piece together a timeline, but don't know much about Urbina. He was in Oakland in 2020 and was living transient in the Auburn area.
He has an aunt that we discovered that lives in Seattle, but she was even unaware of his ways, his lifestyle that he was living here.
Police say Urbina has no criminal history.
We're just trying to find people who might have known our victim, and even that little bit of information can help a lot.
Right now, they have no idea who he was running from or why he was shot in the back.
The video showed that he was running from somebody, or maybe multiple people. We don't know. So that's our biggest concern, is finding out who did this.
If you know David Urbina, please contact Auburn Police or submit an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers through the P3 Tips app on your cell phone. There's a $1,000 cash reward for any information that leads to the arrest of his killer. Still ahead, just when it seems like the criminals are winning, the good guys come out ahead. But the cops don't get the credit this time, you do. For criminals, it's not just a summer of violence. Thieves are out of control, stealing anything with four wheels, including a camper truck and two cats that belonged to a vacationing couple. The Canadians were on their way back to BC after a trip to Utah when they stopped off at the Costco in Tukwila. When they came out, their truck and the cats were gone. So they reached out to us for help. And thanks to you, this story has a happy ending.
It's been just like losing a family member. We have come to an empty house. It feels like we let our kids down. We didn't protect them.
That was Raj Ram and Kathy Gables when we talked to them last Tuesday night. They had returned to Canada after 5 days of searching for their camper truck and two beloved cats, 3-year-old Blue and 1-year-old Lucky. The very next night, a viewer spotted their stolen truck on Novak Lane in Kent and alerted police. The couple drove down from Canada to pick it up Thursday morning from a tow yard in Auburn.
Blue. Baby. Lucky.
But Lucky and Blue were still missing. Then another viewer, Mary Jo Dilley, the hero in our story, sent us a message. She had canvassed the neighborhood and found a man who was taking care of both of the cats. The family finally reunited Thursday night.
Okay, come on.
Lucky came out very, very slowly. He recognized the voice. He did come out slowly, very slowly. But I think he was they were both quite nervous.
Oh, yes, we know.
Somebody left our truck there and took his truck. And one of the girls that stays there opened the door and saw the two cats in there, and they took the cats and all their belongings in with them.
Oh my God, I'm so happy. My baby, Come here.
It's okay. Oh, it's okay.
And that's a happy ending. There's one, and there's number two. a happy reunion.
Hey guys!
Thank you
So much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Hi, how are you? Hi! Oh my gosh, look. Oh, the eyes, so blue, so beautiful.
That's why we called her from blue from the start.
Oh my gosh.
He's a troublemaker.
I had tears in my eyes as soon as I was told the address and told that our cats are there. Yeah, you can't get out.
He's really loud.
You can't get out. We had some tense moments. Kathy was very upset, very sad, lots of tears. We were just so excited and thankful.
I would like to thank you guys. You never give up, always from the day one. Without you guys, I don't think so. We will find them. And to the people of Seattle, thank you so much. And yes, they are our babies and we never gave up.
Thank you very much. Thank you for not giving up. And you know, only a pet lover will understand what a person losing a pet goes through. All four of us will sleep well tonight.
That's all the time we have on this edition of The Spotlight. Until next time, be smart and stay safe.